Live. Live. Live, baby. That's what we are. We're live. All right. Where we at? Where my drones at? All right. Welcome to b.hive Productions. Apocalypse Humpday. The zombie saga. And we are on night 12. We've been doing this a while, folks. So, anyhow, we're reading. Apocalypse Humpday basically started with me reading short stories that I've written dealing with the apocalypse, be it an alien invasion, some end of the world thing, atomic war, kind of hitting all of them. Good evening, Kevin. Thanks for joining from Florida. Yeah, so we're basically, I've been hitting everything. We are now on the zombie saga, which all comes from my book, Zechariah 14:12, Humanity's Last Stand. So, yeah, we've got, we're on chapter 10 right now. The last time we read, which I read from Delray, Florida, while I was on vacation, because we're not going to be missing the zombie apocalypse, goddammit, whether we're on vacation or not. Anyway, read it from Delray, Florida, and basically, Chris had her leg sawed off. So that's how we ended that. Basically, Brent, the soldier that rescued her from the hospital, had to saw her leg off because she had been bitten, and the creepy cruds was crawling up her leg, so we had to get it cut off. So that got sawed off, and now we're going to be joining with Len and seeing what's going on with him and the girls. So, hey, Cuzzy, how are you? Thanks for joining from New Zealand. Good to see you, Chrissy. So, yeah. So that's what's going on there. I thought that tonight, I always like to include some kind of zombie reference or whatever. And I've included a little linkety link on here for you guys. It's a link to Zombipedia, which is a fandom page for zombie lovers. Basically, we're going to be talking about how do you kill zombies, and I think we can all agree that in order to kill a zombie, you got to destroy the brain. So I've come up with some interesting facts here for you folks, and you guys can follow along as well if you want to click the link on here. But then you lose me. So, but yes, the frontal lobe is the area of the zombie brain that still has limited function. Now, with my zombies, or infected, because they're not actual zombies, they're just infected people that are trying to eat you, basically. The parasite lives in the frontal lobe of the brain, controlling everything. So yeah, you got to figure out a way to destroy it. Without a weapon, like a large axe or sledgehammer, attacking the forehead, top, or back of the skull is not recommended. Baseball bats may fracture the skull, but typically not thoroughly enough in these areas to cause any type of structural brain damage. The sides of the head, eyes, ears, and crux of the neck are probably better targets without a weapon. Now, the temple on the right of the forehead and the area under the chin do not require as much exertion to overcome the skull's resistance. But the precision to hit these small targets under duress and with attackers coming from multiple angles, as one-on-one zombie encounters are somewhat uncommon, usually makes these targets less than practical. Most firearms are more than adequate for destroying an undead brain. However, smaller calibers may need to be much closer to do so on a reliable basis, and distance between the shooter and the undead horde is also one of highest value. Most non-military firefights take place roughly 5 to 20 feet from its combatants. This is how many guns have been designed for decades, and it is not the same situation one desires when confronted with dozens of shambling corpses. So, some of the mistakes you can make when you're battling a zombie, so keep these in mind. 1. Do not underestimate the effect fear may have on a survivor's capacity to fight, especially their first few encounters. It is usually better to avoid confrontation if possible and instead flee undetected, especially if one isn't barricaded or by a base. The groans of one zombie may bring many more than one can handle. 3. As earlier mentioned, there is great misinformation in regards to the ease of fracturing a skull. Sometimes a sharp weapon to sever the spine at the neck is more practical. 4. Some types of zombies are immune or ignorant to the sounds of gunfire. Some hone into it before letting off rounds indiscriminately. It's best to know which type is present. And do not underestimate how tiring it may be to penetrate a skull. It will rarely take only one swing, so be prepared and be aware of your surroundings and how much space you need to swing. Now, here are some things to consider when going into battle with a zombie. If there is a melee weapon present, are you sure you know how to hold it? Are you sure it is durable enough to use without breaking in your hands? And how long can you attack with it before exhaustion kicks in? If it does, what is plan B? And are you sure you can break a skull? Can you slip away unnoticed or incapacitate or trap a zombie? And how sure are you that their groans won't attract nearby zombies? So those are all things to think about, folks, when you are being attacked during a zombie apocalypse, and hopefully none of us will have to deal with that. I'm thinking in a couple of weeks, I am going to have a friend of mine, Mr. James West, on here, and we're going to talk about, he's a combat vet, and he has been deployed several times in several conflicts, and we're going to talk to him about what his strategy would be during a zombie apocalypse. So, I've talked to him before. I should also talk to Chuck on here, and he could tell us how a badger would help out in a zombie apocalypse, because he seems to be the badger expert. We could also talk to my friend Kevin Walzer, who is a former police officer. He's retired, and he may be able to tell us a few things about what he would do during a zombie apocalypse. So there's plenty of people I can interview. I'm going to be picking up some software where I can do multiple interviews with people on the same stream, because I'm not going to wait around for 5,000 subscribers to my YouTube or whatever. So, yeah. So I'm just gonna bite the bullet and pay my $5 a month or whatever it is to get some software to be able to do some live streaming with other folks. So, and to do some of the things I want to do with this channel. Speaking of which, I do plan on. I was talking with my friend Pimo, and he wants to maybe get together and have him and I read some of the poems I've wrote back and forth, and do that live, and maybe we can banter along with that as well. So I need to get a hold of this software, and we'll get something like that set up. Both of us are ordained ministers, and so we might call it pastors poetic ponderings or something like that, and we'll do it on a Sunday or something like that. Yeah, we'll have fun with it. Also, I want to do some talking with other creatives on my What's Happening or What's the Buzz at the b.hive. I haven't done one of those in a long time, and need to do one. And I've been talking with my friend and author, Amy Hallberg, and we're going to live stream very soon here, and I'll let you guys know when that happens. So, that being said, let's jump into the zombie apocalypse, shall we? So we're going to be joining Len and his girls, and the last time we left Len, they had found safety at Heritage Acres, which is like this little pioneer village, found in the town of Fair Lakes, and they holed up. They tried to hole up in the schoolhouse out there, but there was already people in there, and they tried shooting Len when he tried getting in there, and so luckily he found that the farmhouse, the old pioneer farmhouse, was empty. So he's holing up in there with his girls, and yeah, and then now we're gonna jump in and see what's going on now. And we'll do that with chapter 10. So, cheers, everybody. Let's get it on. Chapter 10. Len awoke to his daughters, Catherine and Lee, shaking his arm frantically. The cobwebs of the previous night's nightmares cleared immediately when he heard gunfire over his daughters pleading to wake up. "What the hell was that?" he said, sitting up straight from the feather bed he shared with his kids. "Those things are attacking those people in the schoolhouse," Lee exclaimed, almost tearful. Len got up and grabbed his shotgun and moved to the side of the house that faced the old schoolhouse, which was right next to it from the north. Those things were pounding away at the windows and doors to get in. Luckily, there was wire over the glass, so there was still a barrier between the infected and whoever was inside. A few shots rang out from inside, and a few infected heads exploded. "Are you going to help him, Dad?" Catherine asked. He remembered how they had shot at him when he asked for help. "I think they're okay, kiddo. Their barriers seem to be holding up." "But for how long?" Lee interjected. Len looked up and saw someone in the bell tower of the schoolhouse with a .22 rifle. He was taking shots and succeeding at the incoming hordes. "What happens when they come over here?" Lee asked. The thought made Len shiver. He only had 10 shells left. The 9mm was empty. He also had Grace's shotgun, which, if his calculations were correct, held about 3 more slugs. "That's why we need to stay quiet, hun," he said. "The more they keep shooting over there, the angrier they seem to be making that mob over there." The onslaught of those things seemed to go on and on for hours. Len didn't know how much ammo they had, but he was sure it was getting depleted by now. He heard the first shot at roughly 10:30 a.m. It was now 4:23 p.m., and the gunfire had become less frequent. By nightfall, the gunfire had stopped completely. Only the horrible moaning and growling of the infected banging away at the infrastructure of the old schoolhouse lasted relentlessly. "Dad," Catherine whimpered, "I can't sleep." "Shh." He held her. "I know. You have to try." "I want Mom." "So do I, bud. So do I." There must have been a breach in the schoolhouse's defenses, because the screaming started, mingling with the hungry roar of the infected crowd. A few shots echoed in the night air, but were silenced over the noise of splintering wood, tearing flesh, growling, and blood-curdling screams. Catherine began to cry and held on to Lee tightly. Lee joined them. "They're gonna get us, Dad," Lee sobbed. "Shh." He tried not to sound impatient or panicky. Just remain quiet, you guys. We should be okay. Just then, a loud crash hit the side of the house. Both girls screamed, and Len almost let one out himself. "They're here," Lee whispered hoarsely. "They're gonna eat us, Dad." Len grabbed the 12 gauge and moved his way to the stairs. "Dad?" Lee peeked her head out of the bedroom. He pointed his gun at the rope hanging from the attic door. "If you hear any shooting, take Catherine and get up there and pull the ladder back up, okay?" She nodded. Another loud crash. It was coming from the south end by the porch door. An awful thought came to mind. He pictured 100 of those infected things clawing at the door. He checked his belt to make sure he had shells, and made sure his trusty hammer was there as well. He got to the bottom of the steps and scanned the main floor for any movement. The crash came again, and with small relief, it didn't sound like the mindless assault of one of those things out there. It sounded like a concentrated effort on the porch door. He got to the door, and the planks he had nailed up there were hanging loosely, slowly pushing outward, and the assault continued from outside the door. "What are you doing?" Len yelled from his side of the door. "You're going to attract those things over there." He looked through a crack and saw a young kid, maybe 19, maybe 20, bald and covered with sweat, tattoos, and blood. He had a sledgehammer that he was swinging into the door. "God damn it! Knock it off!" Len yelled at him. "You're endangering me and my kids. I'll shoot if you don't stop." The kid stood there with his sledgehammer in his hand. He was breathing hard, and there was madness in his eyes. He backed down the porch, staring at the eye slot Len was peeking out of. Something came up behind him, and the kid swung the sledge into its head, which burst like a ripe pumpkin. The kid walked into the fog, and when Len thought he was gone, he started to hammer the loose planks back into place. He didn't hear the fast clopping of worn work boots landing on the porch and then thundering towards the porch door. The door smashed open into Len, knocking him to the floor. He shook it off and rolled onto his stomach, trying to get back up. The kid grabbed the door and lifted it back into place, and he hammered a plank back into place as Len stood up looking around for the shotgun. He found it, lying on the far side of the room. But before he could get to it, the kid swung the sledgehammer into his gut, knocking the wind from him, and he crumpled onto the floor. The kid grabbed the shotgun and slung it on his back and put the other planks on the door. "Do yourself a favor and stay on the ground," the kid spat, looking around the room. Len was trying to concentrate on getting his breath back. He didn't hear the little voices of his daughters. "Dad," they said in chorus. The kid ran up the stairs and he heard them screaming. "Leave them alone," he gasped between spasms. The kid came back downstairs with both his daughters' hair wrapped around a fist. He pushed them down on the ground next to Len. "Daddy," they both cried, trying to help him. "I'm... okay," he forced out. The kid had gone and checked the windows all around the main floor and came back. "Is it just you guys?" he asked. Yes," Len answered painfully. "Good." The kid slid a chair in front of them and held the shotgun at them. "Those fucking things killed my entire group of friends." You don't have to point that thing at us." "Insurance, dude. In this day and age, I trust no one." Len was getting his breath back, but there was a lot of pain in his midsection. He winced as he tried to sit up. "Sorry about that, man. I'm kind of desperate. We're all desperate. Well, dog eat dog, as they say. Do you have any food in here? I saw you hauling a big sack full of shit after your old lady got eaten. The girls cried even more. There's food upstairs. The kid wavered the gun at Lee and Catherine. Why don't you two be good kids and go get me something to eat? They ignored him and clung to Len. Hey, I wasn't asking, goddammit. It's okay, girls, Len gasped. Go get him some food and water. No, Daddy, Catherine wept. Come on, Kathy, Lee said, tugging on her little sister's sleeve. Steak and a beer if you got it. The kid chuckled to himself as they both ran up the staircase. When the girls were out of the room, Len looked into the kid's eyes. You threatened my daughters again. You better hope the first shot kills me, you son of a bitch. Big man. Big bad man. Is Big Bad Daddy gonna hurt me? If you would have just asked for help, I would have let you in. I ain't chancing that, Big Bad Daddy. Now what's taking them girls of yours so damn long? They cooking up a steak or something? You have them pretty frightened. They're probably too scared to come down. The kid got up and put the shotgun barrel to Len's head. Call them down here. Girls! It hurt his stomach to shout. Lee! Catherine! Come down! Now! Girls! No answer. Little pigs, the kid shouted. Little pigs, better get your asses down here before I scrub the floor with your big bad daddy's brains. Again, no answer. Those little bitches, he said to himself. Was their mother as defiant as them? Len only saw red. He wanted to kill him. He still had the hammer. The kid pumped the shotgun and bounded up the stairway. Len panicked and pulled the hammer from his belt loop and stood up. He could feel the pain shoot up from his stomach, but he was so angry he hardly felt it. He slowly crept up the steps, his heart thudding in his chest like the hammer in his hand. The kid was in one of the other rooms. He ran for the one that they were staying in and looked around frantically for signs of his girls, but there was none. He peeked his head out and watched the kid look into different bedrooms. Len looked up at the attic door, and he could see the rope had been pulled up inside the attic. That's where they were. Now, he just needed to get rid of this kid. He ducked back into their room and waited for him to come around past the doorway. Where the fuck are you, little bitch? He was interrupted as a hammer knocked a dent in the back of his skull. He tumbled down the steps in a heap. Len shouted up to his girls. Lee! Catherine! He shouted. You okay? He heard a muffled, yeah. The door to the attic creaked open a little. Are you okay, Dad? I'm fine, guys. He looked down and saw the kid moving slowly. Stay up there till I come and get you. He went down the staircase. The kid was trying to shake off unconsciousness, but every time he lifted his head, he began to vomit as his skull throbbed. Len looked outside. The crowd of infected were still next door. Only a few were roaming around the front yard trying to gauge where this other noise was coming from. He pulled the planks off the porch door once again. He slowly pulled the door off the broken hinges and set it aside. He checked to see how close those stragglers were. They hadn't noticed his shelter was wide open. As quickly as he could, he grabbed the kid's ankles and, with great pain to his damaged stomach muscles, dragged him out onto the porch. The noise got the attention of some of the stragglers and the group that was terrorizing the now vacant schoolhouse. "Shit," he said under his breath. "What? What?" The kid started to come around. Len got him to the bottom of the porch steps, and his stomach couldn't take any more. The crowd of infected began to swarm towards them. Oh my God!" The kid tried to look up, but he knew what Len was doing. "What are you can't." "Don't fuck with a man's kids," Len said, and walked back up the porch steps. He began nailing the planks back up as the horde started ripping the kid apart. His screams didn't last long, and Len began to see less and less red as he finished the last plank. As he approached the stairway, he heard the door slam again. He knew this time it was the infected. It was a dumb move to drag the kid out there because now everything was compromised. With the hinges already broken, he knew the door wasn't going to hold for very long. He flew up the steps and gathered up the supplies they had left and put it over his shoulder. "Kids," he called up, hearing the door crashing in downstairs. "Kids, let down the ladder." The door creaked a little. "Dad?" they asked, unsure. "Is it just you?" "Yes, honey. Now please, hurry up." Panic was in his voice. Those things were shattering things downstairs, and finally the attic door opened. Those things were creeping up the steps as the ladder was sliding down to him. Kathy was coming down to greet him. "Get back up there, now!" he yelled. His yelling was followed by the hungry roars of the infected coming up the steps. They were close on his tail as he went up the ladder. He kicked the one right behind him, and it tumbled down onto the others behind it. He pulled the ladder up behind him as the girls screamed in terror. The attic door snapped shut to an angry crowd of undead. Len coughed painfully into his sleeve. If there was more light, he would have seen the blood that stained the area he just coughed into. And that is the end of chapter 10. Come back next week when in chapter 11, we will be checking to see how Chris is doing with her sawed-off leg that they cauterized with a glowing orange stove coil that they had going. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah, I had to write it down. So anyway, as far as other things that I've been doing, I've been working on the child predator story. I've also been, which is going to be a short story in the next anthology that I'm writing. So that'll be the second story I have written for the new anthology. The first story is the origin of the Anti-Claus, and I will be reading that for this year's holiday special. So you guys are going to have to wait a few months for that one. Well, actually not too many. It's getting close to Christmas already. Anyhow, yeah, so working on that. Working on getting some software, some streaming software, so that I can do some more interactive stuff with you folks. And yeah, and I'm also learning some Creedence songs. We're going to be doing Creedence Clearwater Revival for episode 2 of Tunes for Tuesday coming up next week. So there's that. And then there's going to be What's a Buzz at the b.hive, and that will be coming up soon. Not exactly sure when, but it's coming. So anyhow, folks, I'm hoping that this video will download so that I can put it up on YouTube. I don't know what happened with last week's. It will not let me download it so that I can transfer it over to my YouTube channel. So I'm going to have to just re-record that one of these nights and put it over there. So that there is order. I must have order. So, anyhow, you guys, thank you very much for showing up. Please like and subscribe everything you see. Let your friends know. Let your family know. Tell them to like and subscribe as well. Head on over to YouTube. Like and subscribe there, please. I think I'm up to like 27 subscribers over there. Not nearly enough to be able to do what I want to do with the channel, but you know what? I'll take whatever I got. Yes, I will remind you, cuz, for next week's chapter. Yeah, you take care as well. Yeah, the cough thing is so that's another thing I've been doing. I've a lot of my friends don't like to read books, but they do listen to them, and they've been using these live stream reads of my book as audiobooks, and they've been listening to it at work. So, I've got some recording software that I got, and I'm now starting to record my books. I'm starting with Midnight Snacks, and I'll be moving through my library as I go. And yeah, so I've been doing that, so my throat is dry from that. And yeah, I should probably be drinking water instead of Coca-Cola. But yeah, that's probably why I've got the coughing going on. But thank you for looking after me, cuz. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming out, and I will be sending out invites to you for everything that's coming up. So do not fear. Let me know what you guys think about the promo videos I do for each one of these chapters that I read to you guys. I've been using AI, and I talk to other indie creatives, and they're like, "Well, you should pay an artist to do these for you." I don't have the money to pay an artist to do that, and if I was going to do it, then I would just do the art myself. So AI works really well for what I need it to do, and that's creating content and doing promo videos. So yeah. Anyhow, so that's what I'm working on, as well as writing and all these other things. And I also need to work on a Tom Petty lyric mosaic thing. I kind of show you what I do here. So what I do is I do portraits of singers, rock singers, and they're completely made up of, I don't know if you can see it, there we go, completely made up of their lyrics. This is Stevie Ray Vaughan and all his lyrics, and here's one of Prince. He's made up of, I had no idea how big the library was for him. This guy's not dead, but I did this because I got paid for it. But this is Eddie Vedder that I did here. So yeah, and now I'm working on a Tom Petty one, and I will show you that as soon as I get going with that one. So, but yeah. Anyway, oh, cool. I'd like to do audio as well, as I'm back to work next week. And yes, H2 is better than Coke. Yes, I know. I'm gonna be 54 this year. You'd think I'd know better, but I don't. So anyway, yes, folks. Okay, I'm gonna cut you guys loose. Thank you again for joining me. Thank you for supporting everything I do. I don't have huge numbers, but the numbers I have, I'm extremely thankful for, which means you guys. So I really, really appreciate it. You guys have a great night. You have a great night, Kevin. And thank you guys for being constant and being loyal and showing up and being awesome drones, man. Awesome drones. All right. Peace out. Love you guys. And I am out. At least I think I'm out. I might be.